challenges and successes, hardship and joy, pain and blessings. The dichotomies of life, right? We eagerly embrace successes, joys, and blessings, yet we become frustrated when challenges, hardship, and pain intersect our lives. But what if the tough times of life are just cleverly disguised opportunities to grow? Resilience, strength, wisdom, courage, and grit are grown when we embrace and choose to learn from those challenging times of life. I invite you to tune your ear to the lessons and insights my guests gained when they fought to overcome the tough times that intersected their lives. Consider how their strategies, mindsets, and habits equipped and empowered them to grow, even thrive, despite the challenges they faced. Welcome to the Challenges Won't Stop Me podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Brown. I'm honored you've chosen to listen to this episode. I believe you will be encouraged and inspired to seek to grow through your challenges. Let's keep moving forward. I'm excited to have Danita Cummins again today. We shared her story in the last episode. We're going to talk today about caring for others as we have been cared for. And that's something that I feel very, very strongly about. In fact, I mention it in my Keep Moving Forward book in the mile that talks about companions. Yeah. When we have gone through some challenges and had people comfort us, we in turn comfort others. A little bit about Danita, just so that you are aware of how all this fits together, because it's such a beautiful God picture. Her ministry is at the Alpha Life Pregnancy Center. That will loop into part of what she talks about today. I'm excited to have her back with me. Welcome back, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. That's just a huge blessing. It's very kind of you to do it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I love taking a deep dive into the meaning of words, which means I'm a big fan of Merriam-Webster. So, of course, I had to look up the word comfort, and it means to give strength and hope to ease the grief or trouble of, to console, to provide assistance or support.
Yeah.
The Bible describes God as offering comfort to his people time and time again.
That's right.
When they're in distress, when they're grieving, when they're ashamed of their sin even. Mm-hmm. I found it interesting, several instances where God showed comfort even when he was angry with them about not being obedient or not listening.
Right.
Our example is God. He is showing comfort and compassion to his people, and we can take what he's done, then we should do it for others as well. Let's go back to the part of your story where you are considering an abortion. In what ways did you experience God's, or even others, friends, families, strength and hope, consolation, assistance, or support? Those things that were mentioned in Merriam-Webster's definition.
That's such a good question. I think there's probably lots of different pieces of that. You know, sometimes you forget or step over it because, like you said, comfort can be so big and so broad. Just specifically, my boss, who was a pastor of a church right after, decided that I was going to have my daughter, him and his wife were right there. They just let me sleep on their couch. They helped me pack my house, just got to sit in his office on days when I was having a hard day or when I was tired. They were just this kind of anchor for me in that season of unknownness, chaos after the storm. I knew enough to know this was the place or the path I needed to take, but there was no framework. You know, I didn't have a lot of anchors, and my faith was not an anchor really. Like I said before, just this pouring out of wanting to make sure that the promises of God were real, but not knowing that at the time. So they were a huge catalyst in my life and brought physical comfort, like packing boxes, and emotional comfort and strength. Yeah, those are probably the biggest ways.
I love hearing that. When we are going through challenges of any kind, having people come alongside of us and show comfort and show compassion Well, we do know to ask for it. We're not always comfortable asking for it. So when people come alongside you willingly without saying, do you need this? And they just come and they give you food, or they listen as you pour out your heart and wrestle with whatever is causing you angst at the time.
That's right.
That is amazing. We need that.
Yeah.
I love how during that time you were facing such difficulties with what you should do, where you should live, all the parts of life, and you had people come alongside you. I'm sure that there are many times when you've thought about them and said, I need to pay it forward, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah. He passed away a couple of years ago. So it definitely has been a journey of just seeing the beautiful heart of the Father. I like to say, like, sometimes we try to make it very complicated. And I love the way that you said comfort, because I've been in a season of what I would call a season of long suffering across my life, just a lot of different hard things that come. And I didn't pick that word. A lady that I work with at the ministry used it one day. She was like, so there are some people who just seem to have a season of long suffering, just this enduring kind of hurt or loss or sadness or heaviness or whatever in their life. Sometimes we get handed things that we have to just carry. And some days that makes it really hard and heavy. There is this beautiful algorithm between suffering and comfort where God promises in his word, I'm not going to make it go away, but I will promise to bring you comfort in your suffering. And like, as you were reading Webster's, what I thought about was the heart of the Father, like you said, that compassion, which is underneath everything that the Lord does, is this unbelievable love. It just undergirds all that we are and do in him. But I was reminded of in the garden, right? Which we always talk about the failure in the garden. And we always talk about the sin and the breaking of the world, right? But I just imagine God being this grandfather standing in the garden, like out in my woods in my backyard. I just imagine him there as just a simple man, and his heart is just breaking because he loves them so much. And disappointment, not from shame, like you're saying, not because he's like, you're rotten or you're broken or you're worthless or you're whatever. It's just this, I just imagine him just weeping in the garden, just like, why did you do that? I had everything for you. All the promises were there for you. And why did you do that? And now, because God is who he is, he can't be untrue to his character. So now he has to follow the law of sin. And I just feel like he's just kind of like, man, what are you doing? Yeah.
I think it's great to think about the different stories we're familiar with. We think about one aspect of it, which you mentioned, but then to go back and reread it with the eyes of how did God show compassion, or how did God show love in that difficult situation?
Yeah.
Imagine if we did that for every story in the Bible.
Yeah.
Wow, that'd make a great book or Bible study.
Yeah. Or our lives, I think too, like you said, when hard things happen, it's easy to see the hard and the darkness and to go after that and to hold on to that. And there's a season of grieving, I think, especially like, as you say, like for people who have overcome hard things or gone through hard things, like you have to let your heart grieve. You do. It doesn't matter what it is, big or small. Like you have to hold space for that. You got to get mad in a healthy way. You got to get sad. You got to let it all move through you. But then there is a perspective, I think, as you go through the healing journey, at least for me and mine, it was allowing me to go back into the darkness, right? To see the light that was always there. And I think it's that retrospect, like if you could go back into a moment in your life that was really hard and letting the Lord reframe that so that you can see him standing there weeping beside you, that you can see him standing there with his heart broken, like all the stories in the Bible. It just radically changed your perspective about who you are in him when you can see through his eyes.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Thanks.
Taking it from the Bible stories and then taking it to our own lives. It is important for us to remember when we're going through something.
Yeah.
As hard as it is, we need to look around and think about ways that God is providing comfort, whether it's through something that he's doing or a friend who has sent you dinner.
Yeah.
Or
a
friend who offers to take you to an appointment. That is showing comfort, and it's all happening while things are really hard, but we get focused on the hard part and we're grumbling about it and, how much longer, and all the things that are just uncomfortable about it.
Yeah.
And we forget to look at all the things that God is putting in place.
You're right. I think if we believe that God is omnipresent and in all things and above all things, and then you just have to get to that place in your spirit and your mind, I think, where you just do trust in the power of God in a way that you can't see. There was a season going into 2024 where I was praying, like, Lord, just let me see your hand in the good and in the hard. I don't need all the keys of the kingdom. I just need to know on these really hard days that I can still see your hand at work, or know that you're by my side. I have two friends that are going through really hard stuff. One lost a child, and the other one, she's at the end of her life. Her battle with cancer is getting really hard. And it goes back to that. We can ask these questions. What is the purpose in the pain? And we do. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we just want to know, we want to understand the why or find an answer. The hope for us as believers, people who go through hard stuff, or like you said, offering comfort to others, is it doesn't have to be big all the time. It can be big, and it can be big. Sure. You could pay somebody's rent if you could do that, but there is also this power in our presence when we just are there. When we just say, I'll hold your hand. I can't fix it. Not going to make it go away, but I can at least hold your hand, or bring you a taco, something.
Oh, bring me a taco. Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
One of the things that has helped me over the years and shown tremendous comfort is when a friend or a family member listens.
Yeah.
They just listen. They're not trying to give me all these suggestions of what I should do and how I should do it. They just listen.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes.
Yeah, I agree. There's this opportunity, I think, like you're saying, and we all have it. So you don't have to have gone through trauma in your life to be able to help somebody else. You don't have to have this really hard stuff, but we all have an opportunity to help one person. Like, you're one step ahead of somebody else today. Pick a thing. Your kids are 7 and a mom has got a 3-year-old. You're leaps and bounds ahead of her in terms of just how do you manage school and spelling words. There's so many things that we learn, and an opportunity to help somebody else, offering something that seems super practical. I'm a faith by practice person. Like, I'm very tactical faith. Helping you with food, clothing, shelter is a real thing. And I go back to that a lot in my faith journey and my serving in ministry. And even with my coaching business or my consulting business, I come back to that a lot. Like, what do you have in your hand, Danita? Well, I have this thing. Well, that person needs that. So do you need a divine intervention, or can you just go ahead and get them what they need? I feel like sometimes the Lord's very clear. He's like, they needed a shovel, you have one. Sometimes
don't make it complicated.
Don't make it complicated. That's right.
It can be a very small thing. It can be a word of encouragement.
Right.
That comforts somebody that's struggling.
Yeah. There's always a deception that tells you you're not good enough, you're not fast enough, you're not smart enough, you don't have enough money, you don't have XYZ. Like, we all struggle with those things. You have to be able to move forward even despite the fear, right? That's what courage is. If you shift your mindset and like gratitude, there's a lot of gratitude practices where like 30 days of gratitude. What are you grateful for today, tomorrow? It would be the same challenge. Like, when you set that before the Lord and you say, okay, Lord, for 30 days, I'm going to focus on who I can help. Like, how can I offer comfort in suffering? And the Lord will bring those to you. After that's done, your eyes are open. There's no more like, I don't know. Like, you'll see it in lots of places. And then you'll be like, man, how'd I miss this?
Yes. Excuse the interruption, but I had to tell you this. Today's Habit interview with Danita Cummins took an interesting turn when we concluded at the same time how fun it would be to put into practice the habit of showing comfort to others. So here are the details. Between September the 1st and September the 30th, Danita and I are hosting the 30-day Comfort Challenge. Yes, absolutely, Danita and I will be participating, but we don't want to do it alone. We want you to join us, and we encourage you to invite your friends to join us. So each day of September, look for a way to offer comfort or support, strength or hope, encouragement or assistance to someone else. If you're thinking, I don't know 30 ways to show comfort, don't fret. You can download a list of 50 ways to offer comfort on Danita's website and social media and my website and social media. But don't limit yourself to those suggestions. Be creative. By the way, if you don't know our website addresses or our social media handles, simply click on the show notes. To participate in the drawing for a copy of Danita's new book, Promise Over Purpose, and a copy of my book, Challenges Won't Stop Me, record your acts of comfort on the Comfort Challenge list, which can be found, you guessed it, on our social media and our websites. At the end of the challenge, make sure you email a copy of your list to me at melanie@melaniebrown.com between October the 1st and October the 5th. We will announce the winner on October the 7th. Danita and I cannot wait to read all the ways each of you showed comfort to others during September. Thanks for joining us for the 30-Day Comfort Challenge. Thanks for allowing me to share information about the 30-Day Comfort Challenge. Now, let's get back to my interview with Danita. You shared a little bit about what got you into this ministry in the last episode as part of your story, but if you could just recap that briefly so that those who didn't listen to your story episode, by the way, you should, they will have an understanding of why it's such a God moment for you to be part of this ministry.
Sure. 2004, I was active duty Air Force, and I was a single mom, had been divorced, was in the middle of kind of financial bankruptcy, all the things, come home from a deployment, supportive Operation Enduring Freedom. And then a few months later, I found out that I was pregnant with my second daughter unexpectedly. So I had made a decision to have an abortion, and God intervened in a very powerful and radical way, changed my life. A week before that abortion procedure was scheduled, I made a decision to keep the baby. Her father and I now have been together, married for 20 years. And so that was the decision that just radically changed our entire life, the trajectory of our life and our family. That's kind of how I got to being a part of the ministry and serving the ministry today.
Tell me about the ministry. What do you do? What kind of people do you work with? Is it a long-term, short-term? Just kind of give me some details about your ministry.
Sure. The ministry was started at the Alpha Life Pregnancy Center, which is a pregnancy resource center. It's a faith-based 501c3. It was originally started as a ministry of a local church in 2008. And I came to serve in it as a ministry volunteer in 2011 when my husband and I and our family, again, it was a ministry, so it evolved over the years. In 2018, I became the founding director and really converted it from being a ministry to a nonprofit. So all the things that have to happen to create a new organization, to stand it up, to become a 501c3, to create a board of directors, to get grants, to get funding, hire staff, policies, procedures, find a new center, all those things, build the programs. I did that with a very small team, some very faithful friends who helped do that. So now we're a 501c3. We offer free pregnancy tests and limited ultrasounds. Those are free of charge to the clients who are trying to make a pregnancy decision. We do the ultrasounds through third-party agency. That's a certified diagnostic center because we're not certified as a medical center right now. We provide options counseling. So we will walk with the woman as she's trying to make a pregnancy decision. We give her medically accurate information. So we will give her information about what it would look like to carry and parent, if that's something that she wants to do. We will give her the information for adoption and adoption referral. We work with licensed adoption agencies in the North and South Carolina and Christian adoption agencies that are certified and licensed. And the reason why we pick them is because they have an amazing birth mother mentorship program. So they will walk with her through her entire journey for as long as she wants or needs them by her side. And then they will also walk with her afterwards. They have a birth mother retreat program where they will bring birth mothers together who've given their babies up in all different seasons of their life. Women who've really done this, who've walked this out, who can really be there to walk alongside these women and give them hope and true perspective of what it's like to be a birth mother. And then we also offer post-abortion counseling so we can walk through the aftermath of abortion with her. 96% of women will have some kind of post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of their abortion. So it is a very high number. And then we also offer infant loss, miscarriage, grief support because 25% of pregnancies will end in abortion, statistically speaking, and 25% of pregnancies will end in miscarriage. So when we have a pregnancy, 50% of the time it's going to end. We wanted to make sure that we had a program and a pathway that every single woman who walks through our doors, we ensure that no woman walks alone through her pregnancy decision, regardless of the choice that she makes. We have spent the last year in this season of holding hearts. And I tell people hearts are heavy. They require a lot. And if God has called us to stand on the line and to stand in the gap for her, then that means we're going to hold her heart for as long as God has entrusted her to us. And that means sometimes it requires a lot of sacrifice. It requires a lot of obedience, but to try to let people understand like what we do in this ministry is about holding her heart and creating space for her, creating a space where she feels loved and accepted and she finds hope. And so we really strive to do that at our center from the time she walks in the door to the time she leaves. Her mom, her dad, her boyfriend, her husband, her children, whoever comes to that center with her, we want to make sure that they understand that they are loved, that they find hope and healing in our space. That's what we do.
Wow. That is a lot.
It is. Yeah.
You guys are rocking it. I am telling you what. Tell me how the experiences that you went through led to you taking this job, and also what you learned from that experience is then shared with the women that you work with.
What I see is, having been in that situation, I have a different perspective and an empathy and a humility in that space.
I couldn't think of a better way to describe how God uses the challenges that we've been through to then help someone else who is going through a similar challenge, and to say, I've been there, I understand. What could you share about the importance of caring for others and passing along what was given to you to someone else?
In this season of my life, caring for people through the pregnancy ministry it's holding space, right? It's letting his light shine through our hearts and our minds and our hands. And we're just really taking the love that he gives us and sharing that with them, right? So we're just open hands, open heart, just trying to let this conduit flow through us, flow through us, flow through us. And it's hard. Some days are horribly hard, but God is good. But I think that caring for people and sharing that love is, kind of a ripple effect through all the different, areas of my life too, right? So I do business coaching and consulting, and I have worked for years in doing leadership and mentorship, and with writing the book, those things that are coming out now, they're not specific to pregnancy help ministry, but it's the same point of trying to take the resources and the hope that God has given us and then giving that back to other people so they can heal and grow and draw closer to the Father. In this season of great loss we had earlier this year, there was a moment where I was really hurt about some of the things that had happened in our life and asking God, where are you? I need to see your hand in this because it's really hard. And the Lord was very tender. And at that moment, I heard in my spirit him say, it's not about purpose. It's about my heart. And so I've just sat in this place of the Father's heart, of seeing and knowing the Father's heart in this season of my life. And that's brought me a great joy. So we're just sitting in this place right now of if we can see the Father's heart and we can help the world see his heart, then that was a good day.
It is about seeing the Father's heart and really carrying forward what he tells us to do. Love one another, care for each other, bear one another's burdens. It seems to me that you're trying your best to live that out through this ministry, because it's hard day in and day out to get in the muck with someone, to carry their burdens, to continue to encourage and support, because it's very draining. But that's what God calls us to. And I think what you're doing is a beautiful picture of that.
Well, thank you.
I referred to a couple of verses in Keep Moving Forward in the mile about companions, because that's where I introduce how important our companions are when we're going through challenges, whether they're pouring into us or we in turn pour into them. And the verse that I thought was so applicable to this whole idea is 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3-4, which read, Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in our troubles so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God.
Mm.
There's two words in those verses that I get stuck on. So that.
Right.
When I read those verses and think about what they're saying, the first part says, God is the God of all comfort. Hallelujah. Right. Thank you, God.
That's right.
I need it You need it. We all need it.
That's right.
But it's not just that. It's so that we can in turn comfort others just as we have been comforted, which
That's
is what
right.
we're talking about. You experienced comfort during one of your big challenges. After that experience, you realized, hey, it meant so much to me, and I want to do this for other people.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the speeches given at college graduations. The speaker talks about the purpose of the knowledge and the skills that they are gaining.
Right.
But then it's not only that the students use those skills and that knowledge to earn a living, that's kind of important, but it's also so that they can impact lives with the skills and the knowledge that they've learned over those years while they were in college.
Yeah.
There's purpose.
Right.
We don't do things just to benefit ourselves.
Right. No, that's so good. I remember like feeling that drawing because I just knew what it felt like, the emotion of it, right? The empathy of it. And I say that just as an offering, I guess, for like people, who are listening or trying to figure out like, how do I do this thing? Or, maybe should I use my hard thing for somebody else? And how does that work? For me, it wasn't like, I want to help people. It was more like, I don't want her to feel like she's alone. And that really was the catalyst. And I still feel like that in my heart. Or a woman who comes in who's struggling with stuff or she reaches out, I still, underneath all of it is just, you're not alone. We're not going to leave you here. We're going to stand with you and stand in the gap with her. And if that means we're sitting on the floor holding her, that's what we're going to do. There's a billion different ways where you can love God and love the world. A billion different ways. Don't overthink it. I don't think he's up there going, you didn't analyze that enough. Like, I feel like the Lord's like, come on, move. And it
That's so good. That is so good.
Yeah.
We often, maybe it's me, but I'll go, is that really helpful? I don't know. And I just second guess myself. And
Right.
just like you, just do it.
Yeah.
It's the fact that we're trying to do what Merriam-Webster said. You are giving strength. We are giving hope. We are easing someone's grief or someone's trouble. We are consoling them. We are providing assistance if we can, support.
Right.
That's what he's calling us to in 2 Corinthians 1.
Yeah. That's why I love that definition, because it is so encompassing. There's so many elements of it that I never really considered.
So good. So good. As we end today, I want to share again about your book so that those who maybe didn't listen to the first episode, again, you should listen. Danita has a book coming out in the fall. It is titled Promise Over Purpose, Unveiling the Path to a Peace-Filled Life. I am very excited for you, and I look forward to reading it. I also want to make sure the listeners are aware of your website in case they want to learn more about you and about your ministry and your coaching and your podcast and all the things. It is DanitaCummins.com. Thanks so much for being with us again.
Oh, thanks for holding space for all these hard things. It means a lot to me.